Sounds that we produce with our voice can either be high or low. High sounds make our throat climb up, and low sounds have the opposite effect, pushing our throat down. This highness or lowness of a sound is called the pitch of the sound. Now, although the human ear can perceive an almost infinite range of different pitches, in music we narrow things down to just 7 basic pitches. An easy way to label them is by using the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Sounds that go higher than G keep on being labeled with the same letters over and over again, and sounds going lower than A also get the same labels, but in reverse alphabetical order. The use of the same letters for different pitches doesn't cause much of a problem. That's because sounds having the same letter name are simply perceived as a higher or lower version of the same basic pitch. If we really need to be specific about which version of the pitch we're talking about, we can always add a number in subscript right next to the letter. Thus, sounds bearing the same letter name are called a pitch class. Yet another way to write down the pitch of a sound is by starting off with a set of 5 horizontal lines called a staff. These lines function much like a musical ladder, with high sounds being placed higher up and low sounds being placed lower down. Conveniently enough, we can neatly place our 7 different musical pitches inside one single staff. 4 of the letters fit in the spaces between the lines, and 3 pitches get placed on the 3 inner lines. By stretching things a bit, we can place 2 more pitches on the outer lines, and yet 2 more pitches on the outside edges of the staff. However, if we have to write down sounds that go beyond the ones which the staff can accommodate, we need to fly up above the staff or sink down below it by adding extra rungs called ledger lines. For most written music, there isn't much of an issue if there's a couple of ledger lines here and there along the way. However, if there's a systematic need for them, not only does the music become difficult to read, but things tend to look a bit absurd. Here's an example of what I mean. By using the staff and letters mentioned earlier, a song like Hotline Bling by Drake makes use of the following lines and spaces. Most of the song can be fully contained inside the staff, and on the highest parts of the melody, we just need to use one ledger line. If we decide to keep the exact same staff for another song, such as In the Night by The Weeknd, things get really messy. In order to write that song, we'll be needing the following lines, spaces, and ledger lines. The problem is due to Drake's voice being relatively low-pitched and The Weeknd's voice being altogether much higher-pitched. Now, is there a solution to keep things clean, convenient, and easy to read for everybody? There certainly is. We simply have to shift the whole staff higher and make an explicit indication of this upwards shift by writing down a symbol called a clef. What a clef tells a musician is which specific pitches are meant to fit inside the staff. In the past, in order to avoid as much as possible the need for ledger lines, each different type of voice and instrument had its own distinct clef associated to it. But as time went by, new musical innovations by composers made their own task increasingly challenging in such a wide array of clefs. The best compromise was to work things out with just a couple of clefs that encompass a wide range of pitches and to continue using ledger lines wherever the situation called for them. 2 standard clefs are used nowadays, the bass clef and the treble clef. There's also one other non-standard clef still in use today called the alto clef. We've seen quite a bit so far, so we'll keep it to that for now. Here's a recap to wrap things up. The pitch of a sound is how high or low we perceive it. In music, we use 7 different letters as labels for different pitches. These pitches can also be notated on a staff, either in a space between the lines or on the lines themselves. When necessary, ledger lines are used for pitches that go beyond the scope of the staff, and in order to avoid the excessive use of ledger lines, different clefs can be used on the staff. The clefs in modern musical notations are the bass clef, the treble clef, and the alto clef. That's all for now, and see you later.